You be looking like you are not impressed.
Well, the tariff thing is interesting. The people that are squawking the loudest are responsible for exporting American industry abroad and also for exporting labor opportunities abroad. They like the cheap labor that comes from foreign markets or foreign workplaces. So they've got cheap labor. They get to sell their products for a low price if they chose to, but they don't. So they make a very heavy profit. And when they sell it to the United States, they can discount their cost and make a killing out of it. Meanwhile, our jobs drop off, industry drops off, we lose the economies of scale. And until after World War II, the United States always had tariffs. And after World War II, since Europe was destroyed, Asia was destroyed, the United States said we needed markets. So at that time, it made sense to eliminate the tariffs and encourage foreign entities to sell their products in the United States. That's how Japanese industry got started. That's how we wound up buying German and Italian cars and such like. So, and English cars, which nobody wanted before then. But now it doesn't make any sense since Europe and Asia have fully recovered and they charge almost invariably a 25% tariff on our products, and we charge nothing in return. So we need to reciprocate, charge a 25% tariff on imported products, which will probably result in diplomatic negotiations to reduce the tariffs down to zero or some limited amount. But at this point, tariffs help out the provision of industry in the United States and the development of industry. When I said industry, I meant employment opportunities in industry. So hold on a second. Let me.
I really believe that because Trump is not a politician, when he first was elected president, he never held office anywhere. He was always a businessman. And this is why the tariffs are going to work, what he's doing with the tariffs, because he is a businessman. Prior presidents were not businessmen like Trump. They were not. They were legacy babies. So they didn't know, or even if they knew, they didn't have the balls to actually execute these tariffs. And there have been old clips of other presidents, Barack Obama, talking about tariffs, but they never had enough courage to implement what Trump is doing. And the difference is you have a lifelong businessman compared to a lifelong politician. And we clearly see the difference of being the leader of this country. I want to play this clip, Judge, but did you want to say anything else?
Yeah, well, bottom line is the people that are hollering the most are the ones, like I indicated earlier, are profiteering because they've shipped the industries and the jobs overseas where the labor costs are low. We charge no tariffs against those foreign products, and they can raise the price enormously and make a hell of a profit out of it. So it's time that we impose tariffs so that the industry will be reimposed in the United States and the wage level will rise. And the interesting thing about tariffs is it's an economic reality that when you have these tariffs, it opens up job opportunities for those with lower educational levels. So you get a high school diploma and you can make a lot more money when there are tariffs than you can if you don't have the tariffs. That's one of the fallouts is enhanced employment opportunities for those with limited educational levels.
So I want to play this clip here.
This is what I don't understand. The reciprocal tariff is going into place April 2nd, which means if you're tariffing our cars 100%, we're going to tariff your cars 100%. Well, you're already selling the cars in the United States or whatever the product may be, French wine or whatever, Grey Goose vodka like I drink, right? That comes from France. That's going to go. So what France has to do is they have to take all their tariffs off on us. So there's no change in prices. The only change is we get now an opportunity to export our manufactured goods into France and Europe and other countries because this is not a punitive tariff. This is meant to eliminate the tariffs on our goods going in. This is why these brain dead liberals and Republicans don't even understand what this means. It is so infuriating for a protectionist like me that has studied this my whole life, that understands it, to hear the dribble that's going on television. You heard it last night with Laura Ingraham badgering President Trump over this. Like, you don't have a clue, Laura. You have no understanding of what a tariff is and the purpose of it is and why it didn't raise prices the last time, and it's not going to raise prices again. What it's going to do is get our manufacturing back in. People start opening up plants over and over time. We get our sovereignty back and we create better jobs, better paying jobs, so people can actually buy the goods. Or the reciprocal tariffs are designed to eliminate tariffs. Because if you're France, let's just take an example. This is how stupid this is. If you're France and you're exporting Grey Goose vodka into the United States, I'm using that example because that's my vodka of choice when it's available. You're exporting Grey Goose, and people like me are buying it, and there's no tariff on it, so it's whatever it is, $35, right? We try to export Tito's American-made vodka, made for potato. It's not my choice. I don't touch it. I like vodka made from wheat, but that's my choice. A lot of people drink Tito's, right? So the U.S. wants to, the manufacturers of Tito's, they want to export their vodka into France and European countries. Well, there's a 100% tariff on that. So it becomes price prohibitive. You're not going to pay double for Tito's in France what you could pay for Grey Goose, which to me happens to be better, but you're not going to do that. So the manufacturing doesn't happen. The Grey Goose doesn't get there. Does that make sense? Now, if you put a reciprocal tariff on there, all of a sudden, I'm not going to buy Grey Goose at $70. I buy it at $35. I'm not going to buy it at $70. I'm going to switch over to a U.S.-made vodka if they keep the tariff. So then their sales collapse. Just follow me on this. So the France sales collapse. So what is France going to do? They have two choices, right? Raise the tariff more on Tito's, which they would never do. That makes no sense. Or they'll eliminate their tariff on U.S. vodka going in there to zero, and then our tariff on French vodka, Grey Goose, would go down to zero. So it's zero now. It stays at zero. The 100% tariff on our manufactured goods exported to France, which was 100%, goes to zero. The makers of Tito's now have a new market to export their product to, which is now could be purchased by French or European buyers, which then creates more jobs making Tito's vodka. This is what they're meant to do. And the fact that these gangster bankers on Wall Street and bedwetters can't understand this, and shame on Laura Ingraham last night, who doesn't have a freaking clue about what is going on, badgering the president on this, was absolutely unbelievable.
Well, she wasn't the only one badgering the president, because you have Hakeem Jeffries doing a press conference.
He doesn't understand. He never took economics. Anyway, what it is you export the industry overseas. The wages are very low over there. And when you come back with the product that you're importing as a foreign manufactured product, you can charge the same price that people would expect to pay for it in the United States, and you make an enormous profit. If you impose tariffs, what happens is you cause the price to go back to what it would be if it used American labor and the factory were located in the United States. So that brings the industry back here and that brings the labor source back here. So Americans make the money instead of the U.S. investor who has taken his manufacturing capacity overseas. So the people that are upset about it are the ripoff artists who see the suckers coming and they propagandize, oh my God, the tariffs are going to ruin everything. They won't. They
What is
will
that
improve the
noise?
wage level of the American worker. They will reestablish industry here. And when the product availability goes down from overseas, the incentive will be to bring the businesses back to the United States.
Let me share this. I want to go to Trump's Truth Social. So on Truth Social, um, he has been posting about, of course, what he's doing with the tariffs.
Larry, I can tell you that there are 50, 60, maybe almost 70 countries now who have approached us. So it's going to be a busy April, May, maybe into June. And Japan is a very important military ally. They're a very important economic ally. And the U.S. has a lot of history with them. So I would expect that Japan's going to get priority just because they came forward very quickly, but it's going to be very busy. And President Trump, again, gave himself maximum negotiating leverage. And just when he achieved the maximum leverage, he's willing to start talking.
And it also says this is House Republicans, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social. Not even 100 days in, and POTUS is already delivering for American people. Lower oil prices, more jobs, lower mortgage rates, cheaper eggs, no inflation, fewer illegal boarding crossings, ending taxpayer-funded waste, fraud, and abuse. This week, House Republicans will build on this momentum. We will advance the budget resolution, keep the process moving forward, and ultimately pass the president and Americans' people agenda.
What we're not talking about is oil was $76, now it's $65. Gasoline prices are going to plummet. Any other time, that would be the number one story. In fact, if you go to the polls, what will get you elected as president? Much cheaper gasoline or Wall Street crying? I'm just being honest about it, right? So, yeah, people have these stocks in their 401ks. And guess what? We've been through it. There's a correction on average every year. There's a bear market every couple of years. I think most people are accustomed to that.
There'll be a few crunch moments, but bottom line is that, hey, Japan's had 78 years of freebie status when we decided to build them up as a market. Europe has had 78 years since the implication of the Marshall Plan to put them back on their feet, so they became a good market. Now it's time to say, hey, you've had enough freebie off of us. It's time for you to pay part of this cost as well. So we boosted you, cut our tariffs so you would restore yourselves with our help and make good markets. So let's have you make good markets. We've been giving you this break for entirely too long now. Enough.
Mhm. And the stock market, it was kind of brutal today. And Trump also posted earlier today. He says rates are plummeting, oil prices are plummeting, deregulations is happening. President Trump is not going to bend.
That's what we've been pointing out this morning, and the president has been pointing it out. Rates are plummeting. Oil prices are plummeting. Deregulation is happening. You know, we've got all of these things happening. President Trump is not going to bend. He told me, a number of times that he's trying to build the economy and make it independent as opposed to relying on China for things like prescription drugs.
So I agree with him.
Their cost. It's time for them to pay for their load. And yeah, the market might drop, but the ones that are crying about it are the ones, as I said, have been shipping the jobs overseas, which has been costing the country. We buy steel from India instead of producing it in what used to be the steel belt. It's really pathetic what's going on. So much of what we've had has been shipped overseas to take advantage of the fact that the costs are lower over there when it comes to labor cost, manufacturing cost, energy cost, and then selling it back in the United States. And these investors are Americans as well, but the money isn't getting passed down because the money is being made overseas and it's not subject to U.S. taxation. So we get zero out of it and get ripped off. It's time for that to stop.
Mhm.
So it is what it is. And by the way, it's a hell of a good time to buy stocks if you have the funding.
Right,
Get the prices while they're low because they'll rebound.
right,
If you get
exactly.
the major companies,
But
they're
here's
not
the thing:
going to.
they're saying, listen, when it does rebound, let's say it's 3 months, even 6 months from now, it's going to not just rebound, but it's going to like go skyrocket. So yeah, I think people are looking short term and not long term. And long term, I would say 6 months from now, I think we're going to be independent quicker than what people, are actually thinking. They're thinking, oh, this is going to take years. I think what Trump is doing, we're going to see the results this year before the end of the year is out in the positive. You're muted.
It's not going to take that long.
Right.
Rebound will be very quick. The profits will go up. There'll be some changes in the market because of the lack of benefit to be investing in foreign manufacturing capacity. You're going to see a situation where the energy costs are going to drop. And it's also a good negotiation tool. Like, we are your best markets. You want to mess with us? Okay,
Mhm.
let's go for it. Let's see who can blink first. Who'll blink first?
I want to play this last clip of Donald Trump. This is, I guess, in the 80s, maybe early 90s, talking about tariffs.
We let Japan come in and dump everything right into our markets and everything. It's not free trade. If you ever go to Japan right now and try to sell something, forget about it, Oprah. Just forget about it. It's almost impossible. They don't have laws against it. They just make it impossible. They come over here, they sell their cars, their VCRs, they knock the hell out of our companies. And hey, I have tremendous respect for the Japanese people. I mean, you can respect somebody that's beating the hell out of you, but they are beating the hell out of this country. Kuwait, they live like kings. The poorest person in Kuwait, they live like kings. And yet they're not paying. We make it possible for them to sell their oil. Why aren't they paying us 25% of what they're making? It's a joke.
Speaking of Kuwait and such like, a lot of the Arabic countries that are oil producing do things like any guy that gets married, he can apply to the government and they give him $250,000, $260,000 as a wedding gift. Very few actually apply for it because they don't need it. My brother was in security, and he and I would check this thing out. You'd go to a high school over there, and they've got Ferraris and Lamborghinis parked out there in the lot, being driven by students. It is like, whoa, what's going on here? And they don't have any crime either. Like, if an American loses his wallet, what happens? He goes back to the hotel, and sooner than later, it'll show back up. No money missing, no credit cards missing. It'll be delivered to his hotel.